Day 20, November 2023. We will kick like this, kind of having a look at the chart. The light kind of is having a reflex, but you will understand that it's the quantum research. We started with the division +1, 0, 0 as different things since the 50s. With the internal values, we could check the frequency as behavior inside the array as information. That only will be an array after you have these values applied. This unveils the pandemic mobilization of crimes by frequency in each local city, considering the composition until the entire global distortion. The density of corruption in Brazil started at local cities, Saquarema and Rio, embedded that the federative unit helped to get the Brazil as a driver at the pandemic scam. Then we can check the machine learning as something that helps to do the decision when the variable has no autonomy to do the decision. We could observe that at the center we have a lot of things happening, and in general the permutation of values. And of course that the criminal use of this theory, and it's not authorized by plagiarism and violation of intellectual assets, will do the permutation of things as observed in our mobile when we have multiples partitions and sometimes fused with the notebook or whatever, and by circumstance having clandestine levels and the communication structure masked, will use a simulation of you consuming your package of data, which is an exclusive service. A system like this, assuming nothing and trying to escape good things, in all ways and in all things, has no dignity. The frequency is quite simple and the model is really flawless. The paycheck is 40 trillion, the case is 12 billion plus prism with storage and more prism, because indeed we are dealing with the vagabonds that have nothing to do, annoying and teasing, stalking, harassing your property, your private living, all your circles. You check that the rational architecture that indeed we had as something that we must kind of create, but the limits are such an interval to operate the analysis. And the sage is that machine learning at the board, quite simple, and once the architecture rationally made, the sage for sure will do what's supposed to do. But in all cases the problem is always the human resources. We have the same offender, lifelong chairs as judges, blind eye and organized crime. In general, we observe that the Brazil will have the segmentation public and corporate, and the financial system will failure carrying to the organized crime. In the same way, the peers in Brazil with public and corporations and the financial system leading to organized crime was caught on body. And the same peers in our area by all budget, doing the simple compilation and drill down, you confirm the frequency, the model we could have at the first board. +1 because the architecture is a dead structure. the department and division as public departments are marked in the same way as the institutional power. The problem one is the user, in general the human resource, as usual. By this we request to fire them, and you couldn't, because you have no autonomy. And today we will have the issue and finish the conversation, because you could check that fighter at the board, considering the sage that is having a lot of things inside to put the output as permutation of value, and sometimes allowed by play bargain and other things, but the dishonesty is not a privilege of Brazil, can go also in USA or Europe. And by the way they do things, they expose indeed what they are: dishonest, liars, people doing falsehood, expecting the death of others to do not have the problem solved, but the problem is indeed totally solved. We expect the most proper decision, and decision must be properly made against the pandemic criminals that can be punished anywhere. They will act to change the composition of your matrix since the architecture, as you can observe, the limits of the array, until the elements inside that relation. And they do this in all cases by records or the misperception, by circumstances and elements created to ensure this misperception, putting the offenders and guilty people like victims, and sometimes putting the victims as someone that creates the situation. Nobody can be blamed by doing your own self-defense against the institutional crime. Only the institution. We will observe that the cowardice we are facing now is at the institutional level of power. We had to face, in general, the cowardice is the thing that annoy me most, because it's your duty and you have no courage to do. We have 5 continents: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in the middle, we will have this division as something okay, right? And indeed will be by the lack of will, evasive behavior, emptiness, as attitude expected, the increasement and encouragement of criminal activities that in general go as public and corporations, right? It is this model here, but using a Venn diagram. Every time you do not act as universe, Brazil or peers, or Brazil and peers as G20, indeed you are encouraging the criminal groups having your situation with fails. And this range of activity indeed will be bigger and bigger until engulf your entire thing. One more time, it's not your fault at the institution, but the dignity you never had and the silence you always do. Have a nice week. You must be convicted by this, you all.